Thank you for checking out In the Now Eventually Press, a home for independent writers. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also follow the link in the description to our Patreon page and become a patron for access to special bonuses. Thank you, and please enjoy the story.
You're in a Lincoln, practically brand new, this year's model. A luxury touring car not designed for desert terrain. It's unaccustomed to untamed back roads, especially on this axle-cracking 27-mile stretch to there and back. A tangerine sundown cast spears of bronze through lavender clouds. Red powdery dust, kicked up by the jouncing tires, clings to the glass, obscuring the light into the back seat where the driver's accoutrements roll and shift from side to side. Thick metal chains, wrapped around a pair of wire cutters, jangle with each jounce, and a compact shovel on the floorboard lurches and dings the door repeatedly. A bundle of thin red and blue wiring sits curled atop jumper cables, like some patriotic whipped cream. A pack of C4 plastic explosives nestles nervously against the cracked leather holster of a Smith & Wesson .45. A garish Virgin Mary dangles below the rearview mirror, blessing the forsaken, fruitless landscape with the cloying scent of cinnamon vanilla sage. A puff of cigar smoke floats past the Holy Mother, and a hand drops down, stubbing out the butt directly into the cup holder, releasing the acrid plastic fumes into the dusty air. Next to it sits a cell phone, a Nokia flip model from 2008, stowed away for gigs just like this. It suddenly buzzes angrily as the driver re-enters a service area. He flips it open in front of his nose and squints in the harsh sunlight at the text message he was dreading. "Any reason I should be nervous?" He slaps the phone shut and presses it hard against his forehead, grinding his teeth as the car coasts to a crawl. Still squinting, he taps out a reply. "Boss, I forgot to tell you the thing was tomorrow." The car stops gently as the driver raises his eyes to the horizon and breathes meditative heaves of air through dry, puckered lips. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 7. Exhale for 8. A moment later, he shakes his head. No time for this. His thumb pounces on the backspace without hesitation, deleting the entire message. And as his foot lightly taps the pedal, he begins again, slowly, pensively, one letter after another. He stops, blinks in the heat, thinks, and starts again, tapping quickly now. Some people like to think that focusing on bad energy can lead to the manifestation of... Mid-sentence, he loses hope, and his hand falls limply to his side as he cranes his neck upward in exasperation. He shuts his eyes, grinds his teeth, and massages his clenched forehead. When the driver's eyes finally open, he shifts wearily and stares uneasily at the passenger side, as if a ghost was taunting him. Maybe it is a ghost, or maybe it was, or maybe it will be. A man's outfit is neatly splayed across the passenger seat and floorboard, like the moment after the rapture, with only clothes left behind. There are golf shoes, pink paisley socks, green Dockers, and a button-up. Ugly enough, yeah, but nothing compared to the canary yellow suit jacket and the paint splatter clip-on tie tucked in the top pocket. They aren't the driver's clothes. These wouldn't have fit him even 30 years ago. He rubs his eyes from the irritation, a dry reminder to start blinking. After another deep sigh, the driver finds the strength to try again. He brings the phone back up to his nose and rereads the message. "Any reason I should be nervous?" This time, he smoothly thumbs out his reply. When it's finished, he looks at it and begins to laugh. Just as the laugh curls into a wet cough, his thumb descends on the button, sending the sarcastic message. "Not if you like a good story."
Produced for In the Now Eventually Press. Dynamite Slasher. Written by Jordy Mack. Music by Lisa Crawford. Read and recorded by Lindsay Ayliffe. Art by Anna Patchwich.
Outside San Bernardino, in a cold bank of the Mojave, lies a stretch of road which goes beyond the famous Zizek Center and drives deep into empty public land crossing Nevada. At its end lays a great range of unmarked nothing, smudged only by a gravel cul-de-sac almost half a mile in diameter, but with an outer rim of immeasurable desert. In French, cul-de-sac literally means bottom of a bag, and no site for 100 miles fits that description better than this place. People come here with their expensive film cameras in a mostly futile quest to capture the landscape's broken beauty, or to simply breathe in the desolation of an empty open space at the end of a sad and shoddy road. Sometimes, very rarely, the public will arrive to find disappointment. Access to this dead end is blocked off back at the main road and manned by hired security, but without ever so much as to a reason why. All would-be passers-through are turned away en masse and without discrimination. The secret being, on those infuriating occasions, the secret being that certain special individuals were coming and going. For Marcus Weingartner, this would be his one and only sojourn backstage. He stands alone in the dusty gravel in the bottom of the bag, leaning his hands against a blue 22 Chrysler, parked dead center. The hot metal lightly burns his hands as he grips the roof's edge and leans his body weight against his outstretched arms. His head hangs below his shoulders and his shirt flaps in the hot wind. From the side, it might look as though Marcus is trying with all his might to push the car away, push it all the way back from where it came. Marcus is in his 20s, a little gaunt, has dark brown hair and a mousy face. His large round ears stuck out of his angular V-shaped head, and his eyes were both sunken and bright simultaneously. When he smiled, it pushed his cheeks into tight balls, and under his baggy eyelids, it made him appear bashful and harmless. He knew all of this, and used it to his advantage. Any good salesman would do the same. It's good to find the most disarming thing about yourself, and then exploit it, like a predator. But a mouse is no predator, despite the daily affirmations in Mark's morning mantra. Out here in the desert, he's just another rodent to be plucked from the bush by a passing hawk. He blinks the sweat out of his right eye and shakes these thoughts out of his mind. He tells himself he's being paranoid. Occasionally, he removes his hand from the car's hot metal to pull from his Dakota full-flavored cigarette. He taps the ash off, but the wind blows a cherry into his suit's inner lining. The hot sting against his chest alerts Mark to the burning tobacco as he dances backward, hopping on one foot as his hands fly in and out of his jacket, knocking off hot ash and putting out the ember. He catches his breath and yells out in embarrassment. How stupid would he look if he burned a hole in his suit? It was a garish yellow color, the suit he wore, with ridiculous cufflinks that looked like Monopoly game pieces and an accompanying clip-on tie some would call unhinged. Never before had he ever desired to go out dressed like a banana, or perhaps as an imitation of the sun, and never would he desire to do so again. Today, though, the most important thing was not retaining personal dignity or avoiding public shame. It was assuring one's own survivability. Yesterday, Mark was sharing a drink with his cousin Liam at Georgette's, or just Jet's, for the usuals. Jet's was a real dive, the kind decorated by a proud collection of half-lit beer signs, completely worn-out pinball machines, and a newfangled jukebox with a Wi-Fi connection. Mark and Liam shared one drink minimum every day at this bar. It began as an act of flippant fancy, being that Jet's was just across the street from the car lot where they both worked, but it had eventually become a ritual. Liam loved having his family working for him, selling cars, and turns out his older cousin was pretty damn good at slinging engines too. They'd grind out the work together at the lot, and then grind out the stress together at the bar. It went on for days, then weeks, and eventually a year. Over time, this pattern came to fit these two boys like a shoe kept just a little too long. The lot's arches became their curves, and their curves had become Jet's arches. But when something is finally too comfortable, it is truly beyond salvation. Without it said, somehow Liam knew. The goodbye drinks were coming. Maybe not this week or even next, but soon Liam would deliver the news. There always comes a time to move on. That is why Liam wanted, or needed, to do something special for his cousin. Just to see him off. It was important that he didn't end the greatest bonding experience of his life on a down note, or even a neutral note. And Liam tried his best to make the guy understand that. Amongst the sounds of Sugarland and the den of dead ends that was Georgette's, young Marcus confided in his cousin.
I don't know. It's just, he was really nice, is all. He was a really nice guy.
Mark sipped his whiskey.
I looked him in the eye, I shook his hand, I laughed at his corny jokes. Now I have to stab him right through the back? That's not right. That's not even wrong. It's unthinkable.
Liam tapped his glass lightly.
Mark, nothing this guy has ever done in his entire life has been right. You don't need to feel bad for this guy. Not even he wants that. It's the last thing he'd want. That would make him a hypocrite. The dude's a fucking gangster. He's been in this game since before we were born, ripping people off. He's probably ripped you off before. You didn't even know it. That may be so, but it's still none of my business. To me, he was just a nice old man who let me talk about my baseball cards while I showed him around the Chryslers. And I'm not going to impede on anyone else's business just to make a buck.
Oh, boy. Liam lit up a cigarette and pinched the bridge of his nose.
Dude, I understand you have a compassionate heart. I do, and I just love that about you. I mean, I wish I had it for myself. But you know what I wish even more? That you had for yourself? A fuck ton of money.
Mark moaned both in aggravation and temptation.
A fuck ton of money, and for doing a good thing. Neutral thing at worst. That's a win-win situation. If it's so much money, why aren't they trying hard to keep it for themselves? Why can't they just conduct their business some other way? Not for this, Marky. I explained it already like 10 times. Sal Amato. He looks like a pussycat, I know, but he's really like a big old turtle. Some people, that's why they call him that. The turtle. He's so careful. He's so slow. His defense is up 24/7 all year round. No one gets in on the guy for years. He never even gives them the chance. Right now, there just so happens to be a little chink in his arm. He's been driving the same car for 25 years, and it's finally breaking down. He needs a new one. But Amato's top priority is staying low-key, always looking like Joe Schmo. That's another part of his defense mechanism. He's not peeling out of the Maserati dealership with no sports car paid in cash, even though he could, twice a day if he wanted. No. Liam taps his finger on the bar for emphasis. He's gonna buy from our lot, he's gonna buy used, and he's doing it on a lease. You're the one who's gonna sell it to him. Now this other party, aka Salamato's competitors, that's the Stariglio family, right? Yeah. Liam looked over his shoulder and gestured to be quiet. But don't say it so loud, man. Anyway, they're willing to pay top dollar because we, and only we, have access to Sal Amato's future vehicle. That's a very special thing, which makes us very special people. That's why I don't want to put Kyle or Lindsay or any of my other agents on this, because that money is going to change your life. I love you and you deserve it. You need to take it. It's just not right. It's just not right. Mark slugged back the last of his drink and then massaged his palms into his forehead as his neck sank until his nose was practically touching the bar. Buddy, don't look so glum. What's the worst that can happen? Liam stabbed out his cigarette, producing a foul smell, and wrapped his arm around Mark's shoulder. Well, I mean, it's not just this old guy to think about. I could get in trouble too. Oh, come on. No one's getting in trouble. It's impossible. You're so sure? I am, yeah. What these people do is illegal, but all the same, it's structured. They commit murder, and they get away with it. Mark's head shot up from the bar, eyeing Liam with a pale expression. Oh, that's a very comforting thought, Liam. Thank you for that. What I'm saying is they have everything dialed in. Everything they do. It has a very specific and intended purpose. Otherwise, the whole thing they built just falls apart. They wouldn't let it happen. Liam's words fell on deaf ears. Mark only sighed and shook his head, mumbling dissuasions to himself. Liam bent back his neck in frustration and then leaned forward and tried one last thing. You'll come back in one piece, I promise. You want to know why? Why you're coming back? Because, drum roll please, because I'm going to let you wear my lucky jacket. Mark's head came back up, this time looking annoyed. A jacket? You mean like Kevlar? No, smartass. My yellow one with the little Bentleys on the cuff and the red liner. You know the one. The Pollock painting tie goes with it though, alright? No substitutions. Liam sipped his drink. Oh, cousin, please. Mark wiped his brow. Why would I come to this thing dressed as a fucking banana? They'll kill me just for that. No, you'll be fine precisely because of that beautiful jacket. That's my lucky totem, and I never lose it. I always get my jacket back. That thing has been with me through thick and thin for 2 decades, but I've lost it more times than I can count, and it always finds a way home. Remember that time I drove across Texas and accidentally left it at a Motel 8? It took me 3 months before I got a call about it, but shit, I got it back. So all you have to do is not take that thing off and you'll be back. That's just what it does. I guarantee. That's some magical thinking bullshit, Liam. Mark swirled around the last bit of whiskey in his glass before setting it back down and wiping his lips. But I guess if I really want to retire at 30, that's all I've got to go on. Hey, Liam clapped his brother's neck and grinned, holding up 2 fingers to the bartender. I will drink to that. One more thing, and then I want to stop talking about it so my stomach will stop hurting. Sure thing, man. I'm not actually going to help him bug the car, am I? Because I really don't think that's good for my mental health. I don't want to think about the harm I'm doing. I'm just there to give him the car. Liam held a frozen expression, a poker face, as he finished processing information in his head. Then, with a slightly flat effect, said, That is correct. You will not help them bug a car. Good. Then I'll drink to that also.
3 days later, on a hot afternoon in early May, Liam's yellow blazer was being worn by another for the very first time, during work hours anyway. It was noticeably itchy, and Mark resisted the urge to pick at the obnoxious tugging feeling in his armpits as he paced around the blazing blacktop of Liam's Motor World, scanning the horizon for customers. There were none so far this shift, not so uncommon as he'd only got on an hour past, but it was certainly starting to ride his nerves today. It was the heat, on top of the itchy jacket, on top of, well, that thing not hanging over his head. With the lip of his leather-strapped shoe, he picked at a crack in the asphalt, dug out a loose piece the size of a quarter round, and balanced it there like a hacky sack as he raised it up and popped it into the air to see how far it would go. When it landed back down, it made a soft and unsatisfying sound against the ground and rolled under a car, presumably to find shade. Mark gazed into the undercarriage shadow without thought, and then broke away to again find another rock to kick. As he stared at his shoes, he thought,
Aren't these the same shoes I wore to Grandpa O'Connor's funeral? I wore these to someone's funeral, but I definitely didn't wear these socks.
"Oh-ho!" A raspy but spirited high pitch called out. "There's the corner, boy!" Mark's vision darted, spot-checking the perimeter and twisting his neck from left to right, until twisting around 180 degrees and finally laying his eyes upon his first customer. The man was elderly and liver-spotted, walking with a hunch as if carrying something on his back under his custom-tailored suit and scarf. The wobbling cane he held was silver in the top half and perhaps ebony on the bottom. His smile revealed the uncanny white dentures, but was so genuinely warm an expression it caught Mark off guard. He instinctively smiled and waved back, but dropped his hand respectfully almost right away. Another man stood behind the elderly gentleman, much taller and younger, and with far more outward ferocity. From the top down, he was practically a series of V's. His brow, his pointed eyes, his thin mustache, and his lips, and even the frame of his shoulders, sharpened down precisely into his abdomen where his hands remained still inside the pockets of his coat. Mark's voice failed for just a moment before his eyes flashed with renewed service industry charm and began his work for the day.
Did I hear corner? Well, we are the Corner Store Bakery, cooking up deals on the daily, good sir. I consider myself a Michelin star chef.
A baker. But there's more than one kind of dough, huh? The old man wiggled his stiff, craggy finger at Mark.
Well, we all must make our living, but if you ask around, anyone will tell you I'm more about saving you money than I am about saving me money.
Mark clasped his hands together at his ribs subserviently.
Are y'all coming in for a new car today?
We are here to buy a used car. The old man said it affirmatively, his cohort remaining pensive behind him.
What a coincidence! I'm here to sell a used car.
The dealer reached his hand out to be shaken.
The name's Marcus, but you can call me Mark. And let me tell you, as far as making a steal today, you boys have certainly found your mark.
Oh! The old man laughed quietly and turned to his cohort with a smile, who only returned his gaiety with a subtle nod of the head. He wiped his mouth, turned back to the car dealer, and took limply his hand in a shake. My name is Sal Amato. Piacere di conoscerla. Mark's mouth turned into an O of astonishment, and without letting go of Amato's hands, his whole body almost teetered back, his eyes wide, his thoughts in a state of small panic.
Oh, holy crap! Why didn't anyone tell me this was happening today? I could have sworn it was supposed to happen next week.
Mark grinned awkwardly, still holding the old man's hand, who remained jolly, but twice turned back to his partner, who just shrugged in response.
You know what? Screw it.
Mark swallowed hard, closed his mouth, finished the handshake, and took 2 showman's steps back.
This is not the time to be overthinking things. This is the time to rock with all you got, because it is far too important not to. And don't forget, never let 'em see you sweat. What a great honor to be serving you today. I hope that,
He snapped his fingers and reached his hand toward the man in the back.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
It's all right. Amato put his hand gently on top of Mark's and pushed it back down.
My friend is very tired today. He can't speak, because very sick with flu,
What?
Mark jerked his neck back instinctively.
We should get him a mask, shouldn't we?
No. His religion.
Amato rolled his wrist in the air as if it were a trivial matter to be done with.
My friend, I am yearning to drive. Won't you help an old man, because it is his dream to have the road as my servant?
Mark nodded rapidly, cleared his throat, and focused himself enough to begin the pitch.
I've seen a lot of lemons come through here over the years, and at any other place in town, the guys there might buy those lemons. They'll spruce up the outside, rinse out the oil, and act as your best friend before taking your $6,000. But not here. What we do here is buy parts for those lemons, test them for any usability, then modify those parts so they can be assembled to create better long-term used cars, and ultimately make you a product that's going to ensure longevity and reliability.
Wow. Sal rubbed his chin, smiling, and again turned back to his partner, but this time the man did nothing.
That's right. Every used car you see on this lot is what we call a Frankenstein job. Come on, walk with me.
Mark paced across 3 rows of cars as Amato dawdled behind, held up gently by his cohort, until arriving at a car Mark patted on the behind. A faded bronze-color 5-seater and a washed-out Dancing Bear's deadhead sticker still unscraped from the rearview window.
What is this?
Amato was already not sounding pleased.
This is a 2006 Nissan Sentra. Under the hood, you're actually looking at a Toyota-manufactured cylinder head, which happens to actually work even better with the Sentra than with the
Amato cut the pitch off, and for the first time, Mark watched the old man curl his face down from a grin into an offended scowl.
It's the color I hate. Why is it gold? It's gold like I'm Caesar.
What?
Mark genuinely laughed at the comment for just a moment.
Mr. Amato, I don't think anyone will consider you an emperor riding around in this car. No offense.
It cannot work for me. No. Please. Can we go next?
Okay, yeah.
Mark led them 3 cars down and began again on a purple PT Cruiser.
Tell me you don't love the body of this car, huh? Most consumers at the time didn't put it together at first glance, but Chrysler was actually attempting to reintroduce the classic 1940s car designs back into the...
Amato shook his head.
That's no good. And it's purple. Got the same problem as the last car.
The last car was gold.
And this one's purple. The color of royalty.
Seriously?
Mark sighed, then caught himself.
No, that's all right. If it's not to your taste, then why bother? I'm sure we have something you'll want to drive home in today. In fact, I can't believe I didn't realize it before. Jeez, I should have shown you this one first. Follow me just a little further.
The 3 walked ahead to a blue and silver car parked along the chain-link fence of the lot. The wind picked up here and blew Mark's hair over, getting into his face. He gauged Amato's interest by the reaction on his face, and this time he wasn't completely disgusted.
I can tell you're attracted to the Sebring, Mr. Amato.
It's not bad, but looks can be deceiving.
They most certainly can. For example, what this appears to be from the outside is a rusted, used up, and battered Model T, more at home in a junkyard than anywhere money gets processed. You just have to take a look inside the window there to see it's anything but.
Mark gestured at the window like Willy Wonka inviting you into the factory. Amato crept up to the window, and with his hands covering the light, he peered in. Ooh, ah. Amato knocked on the glass and nodded his head.
It's very beige. I have never seen anything as beige.
All the decor has been gutted and reupholstered, practically custom made. You won't find any car in the world that looks the way this one does.
It is so beige, I don't know how I can resist.
You like beige, huh?
Mark smirked and folded his arms in satisfaction.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet, but let me tell you about the real works. This here's not just a Frankenstein job, but a true international platter of recycled metal. The breather hose comes from an Italian manufacturer, but on both ends, it's breathing into German parts. The transmission is Japanese. It's gotta be. But the engine is mostly American parts, if you can believe that. You say to me, this sort of thing has never been done and sounds like it would never work, right? Do you say it's a total mechanical fantasy? I say, if that's really the case, then why would I offer a free 2-year warranty if you buy from me today?
Wow. Amato stroked the top of his silver cane as if it were a pet cat.
So, what do you say to that?
I say,
He stroked his chin and shut his eyes as he looked upwards, then repeated his words as he turned back towards his partner.
I say,
Amato took one hand and scratched at the car's paint, though it wasn't exactly a scratch. Mark saw he was gently rubbing the car, and with his thumb and forefinger turning clockwise as if screwing on a cap or turning up a volume, and then returned his hand to his pocket. Amato mumbled something in Italian. His partner nodded subtly.
I say.
Amato turned back to Mark with a smile. He reached into the inner breast pocket of his suit and produced a brown leather billfold.
I say don't change the inside's color before I come back to pick it up next week.
Mark's lungs filled with air and exhausted heartily through his confident, toothy grin. He reached forward again for one last handshake, this time masculine and pumping. Despite the old man's frailty, he didn't seem to mind.
Mr. Amato, I promise you, no one is going to do a thing to your car.
The yellow jacket whips through the desert air as Mark throws it off his back, flips it around, then inspects it for burn spots. Wouldn't you know it? He found one. His finger runs around the rim of the burn, feeling its size and appraising the damage. The hole was about the size of a quarter, and split ends dangled from the top, along with a white discoloration. He was sure it was something noticeable, and he began to bite his fingernails.
Disrespect,
he murmured to himself, wetting his lips nervously.
It's insulting. Insulting! You can't insult them.
Still with his finger in the hole, Mark nervously shifted back and forth in place and darted his eyes across the empty landscape, racking his brain for something. Then he felt relief and remembered there may be an answer to his problem nearby. Not in the Chrysler, but the rusty old dragon wagon that lugged it here. This thing was a classic, a model from the late 70s, and had the kinks to prove it. Miraculously, it just never fell apart completely, and more often than not, had mostly stayed in action over the years. Mark thought it was real cool, like driving a Flintstones car or something, and every time he got the chance, he took it. That was not often, seeing as it ain't his job, but the kind people at J-Star Towing knew how much he liked the hunk of junk, and occasionally did him a solid. Most people called it Patty, but Mark had his own name for it. Danger. Not because he ever feared driving her, but as an homage to an old PSA from the 80s. Shake hands with danger. It was this corny little industrial film they'd play for construction workers for the purpose of illustrating the horrors of cutting corners on a construction site, lest they lose a leg or their life. Every time he hopped in the saddle, he'd habitually start singing the theme song, even if he noticed or not. Shake hands with danger, take a chance that you won't fall. You'll save yourself a minute, but you may damn well lose it all. Mark grabs the handlebar and hoists himself up into the cab. And somewhere in the cave of his mind, those lyrics echo out. He was sure he'd recently seen a sewing kit in danger. But where? The glove compartment? No. The center console? No. He flipped down the mirrors and shook them just in case. He checked the pockets of the car doors and the pockets on the back of the seats, all of them filled with crap, yet none of it he needed. Shit. Mark rubbed his temples. No choice but to get down on his knees and start digging around under the seats. Normally, that isn't an issue, but we're talking about danger. Danger had these fucked up old seats with a bunch of exposed machinery. They weren't built to go digging around under. Reaching in was like sticking your hand into a skinny can of those tasty potato chips, only to find it filled with sharp-edged quarters. But it wasn't so blocked up that shit couldn't get lost in it neither. You had to take your fingers and squeeze them together into a cone. Mark imagined a stork's beak, and then shove it in as far as you could, which always pinched your skin and could make you bleed. Then, with the tips of your fingers, you'd pinch the thing you need and pull it back slowly to make sure you didn't drop it along the way, which you almost always did, and you'd always curse at it too. Despite everything weighing on Mark's mind, he still found the energy to get annoyed at danger. Mother effer! His voice cracked after dropping it the third time. He sighed, let out another holler, grit his teeth, and pushed his little fingers into all those gears and plates till it hurt. And with the very tip of his forefinger, he scooched the little sewing kit towards him and flicked it like a paper football, sending it back out onto the shoe mat. See? I knew you were in there! With giddiness, Mark pulls the needle and thread from the small plastic casing and begins patching together the burn hole. He stabs the needle in, pulls the thread through, stabs the needle in, pulls the thread through. Something flashes in the corner of his eye. In Danger's massive rearview mirror, she reflects a glint of light and motion, and soon it grew closer and became a stream of black heat waves like a mirage. Mark's skin went goosebumps. His eyes grew large and his stomach a little sick. It reminded him of the sort of dry mouth nerves you get before a date or a job interview, but more intense. He couldn't move. Only stare at the approaching vehicle until the thought snapped back in his mind that he can't be seen with cigarette-charred clothing. His hands begin moving again, as fast as they can, then pushes the jacket against his teeth where he snips off the loose string and spits it out. He examines his work. He can tell it doesn't look good, but it would have to do. Mark gazed in the rearview mirror as the approaching image grew in definition. By his eye, some luxury car, and having a rough time driving on the uneven earth. He guessed it would still be another 3 minutes till they were here, 5 at best. But Mark felt he couldn't go out there. With his eyes closed and his hands folded in his lap, he controlled his breath and focused on the sound of his heartbeat until he could feel it slow down. In a Buddhist-like chant, he repeated his calming phrase. People do this all the time. People do this all the time. People do this all the time. All the time. All the time. That pleasurable feeling of losing track of time washed over him. It was slightly serene, feeling far away. People do this all the time. People do that. He caught his voice and opened his eyes on instinct. The car sounded very near now and was slowing down. As he turned to leave the cab, Mark took one last breath of meditation and then caught his own glance in the mirror.
Okay, but no one does it dressed like a gold brick, am I right?
He winked at himself, got into character as much as he could, and flashed a confident smile before sliding out of the side of the truck with an oleaginous stride and began trotting back towards the Chrysler. The Lincoln rolled up 8 feet from the Chrysler. Having finally taken a merciful break from the road, the car's engine turned off, but the man inside didn't get out right away. Perhaps he was surveying or getting prepared somehow. Mark retained his buoyant jog, despite how silly it began to feel. Then, as the car dealer reached his car, the Lincoln driver emerged, sporting the largest windbreaker Mark had ever seen. He tossed a cigar butt into the sand. Some men are sculpted marble. This guy was chipped out of a brick wall. His shoulders were wide and came up nearly to his ears as the result of terrible neck posture. Yet he still managed to stand above 6.5 feet. He was so wide across, Mark was reminded of those optical illusions where the shape looked too tall for a square even though it wasn't. But it was the guy's head. Geez Louise, like a boulder with ears. For a brief moment, Mark felt badly for the guy's mother. Childbirth must have been hell. The quality of his face wasn't obscene, though. He looked like someone who might have been very attractive many years ago. He wore his graying hair slicked back, except for a coil of black locks that dangled from his head like a pig's tail. Mark finally made his way up to the man. "How are you?" After an uncomfortably long beat, the man replied, "Saporish." True to his words, he spoke in a sickly inflection, as if he had become nauseous from the cigar he'd been smoking. His eyes could not even keep focus, as they gazed back and forth as if tracing the movements of a fly buzzing around the brim of his hairline. As far as the word Saporish goes, Mark had no clue. That's great, and I'm sorry to hear that. So, yeah, the car? I brought it like you asked, and..." "What?" The large man's sick eyes quit their swaying and narrowed on Mark. This could mean what, as in sorry about what? Or what? I didn't hear you. Or what car? Or what the fuck did you say to me? Mark officiated the whole venture. "Let me start over. Hi, I'm the Slasher, as in car slasher, from the car lot. We don't need to exchange names if that's not your thing. You could call me the Slasher or Mr. Guy, but for you, I could..." Mark cut his voice as the man raised a ham-sized hand in the air and shook his giant head. Then he slowly lowered his arm and gestured toward Mark's mouth like he was feeding him birdseed. He repeated himself. "What?" Mark blinked hard as his mind analyzed the message. Soon it hits him. There was something his cousin said. "Don't start talking before you do the secret code. He knows you're the guy, of course, but it's just how they do business. Very first thing out of your mouth will be this." Oh! Mark clapped his hands and grinned embarrassingly. "Don't worry, I know it. Autumn something. Autumn swans will eat old bread." Mark squeezed the words out of his brain like the last toothpaste from the tube. And pigeons like broke hot dogs." Joe said it quickly, like he'd said it 1,000,000 times before. Mark rubbed his throat. "But summer geese like fresh sardines, right?" Rather than speaking, the man's eyes exploded like a couple of flashbangs. The searing glare hit Mark like a bolt. Suddenly, the panic jogged his memory. "No, wait, I'll say it again. Summer geese like fresh cheese and olives." God. The man rolls his neck and heaves a sigh, both in relief and exhaustion, then waves his hand and finishes the stale ceremony.
And your sister likes old crackers. Good.
Whew. Mark wiped his brow in an exaggerated gesture. Got that out of the way? How about I properly introduce myself?
No. We have things we need to talk about now.
All right.
Look, the whole point of the password is to not screw them up. At all. It don't matter if you make a boo-boo and then correct it later. We operate on the one-strike lockout. You're supposed to know it. Okay?
Yes, I get it. I am so sorry. Does that mean I messed up?
Technically, yes. This deal should be over. That's the policy I'm expected to uphold. Do you understand?
Right, I understand.
But this particular job is very vital, so I want you to know how lucky you are that I am choosing to venture forward with you, seeing as it's just us out here. No one to hold me accountable.
I mean, I'm beginning to understand how lucky, yes.
Good. Because what you're doing is going to help me and my people a lot.
Mark scratched his head. It is? But how do you know I'm not going to screw up?
Are you arguing your adequacy right now?
No. Never mind. Never mind.
And one more thing. Would you please slow down a little? You're yapping and moving so fast it's like I need an epilepsy warning.
Mark quickly caught himself. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Are you saying you're actually susceptible to seizures?
The man chuckled once and rubbed the back of his head. Oh, kid.
He placed his hands on Mark's shoulder and pressed down, sticking him to the ground in one place.
I'm just asking you to relax. You wound up. I get it. I'm sure you're very excited to get out of here and buy yourself some new clothes. But you aren't quite there yet. You got a little more work to do. Then it'll be time to pop the champagne.
I can do calm.
Mark was feeling more confidence.
I'm actually very good at doing calm.
Good. And by the way, if you need to call me something, just call me Joe, okay?
That's a can-do, Joe. Mark smiled, baring all his teeth like a nervous monkey. Joe nodded his head, and Mark smiled back more, and then even more. Joe tried to casually stuff his huge hands in his pockets, but gave up and rocked back and forth on his heels.
So, is that it?
Joe pointed toward the car. Huh? Mark looked behind him. Oh, that! The Chrysler! Yes, that's the one. Mark shuffled back slightly, trying to establish their personal spaces again. Yeah, I think it'll work out for you guys. I mean, I hope so, being as that I picked it out and all.
I heard. They made it part of your job.
Well, my cousin just told me what to do, and I did it.
He wouldn't have told you if someone didn't know you were capable.
Yeah? Well, so you like my choice? The man shrugged his eyebrows and stuck out his lower lip thoughtfully as his gaze moved back and forth on the car before nodding in the affirmative.
Yeah, no, I like it. Good choice. Looks like something Sally would drive. Definitely something he'd drive.
Wow! Mark rubbed the back of his neck proudly. I mean, I knew I did okay, but wow, I don't mean to sound gauche, but I had a feeling it would work. Liam said it had to be inconspicuous, really low-key, but at the same time couldn't lack dignity. When I heard that, the first thing came to my head, one word, Sebring. There were some other options, like a couple Cavaliers on the lot, but this baby, she just had it all. Sebring. It even sounds like a boring old folks' home, but one that costs a lot of money. The orderlies, they wipe your ass for you at the Sebring joint. It is deluxe. The man actually smiles or smirks or grimaces. Mark isn't sure exactly what it is. A moment later, he even sees his shoulders bounce and the slight sound of amusement in his voice.
Yeah, they wipe your ass. Yeah, I get it.
And it's a Chrysler. People think Chrysler, they think PT Cruiser. They think no criminal would ever buy a PT Cruiser. So he makes a connection in his head, if he does. Look, I just really think it has a subconscious effect. Plus, your man can't refuse a great deal, apparently. I'm the biggest price slasher in town, so, yeah, got a lot going for it.
Sure. And you're saying, bottom line, Sally Squints goes home in this car.
Yep, he goes home in it.
Mark grins confidently and leans his hand on the hood of the car, showing off in front of his handiwork.
Gonna drive it off the lot and go all sorts of places.
The hell does that mean?
Oh, I'm just saying, I assume he's got a life. Busy guy.
Ah, right.
Joe shook his head, and Mark felt a bit awkward, though he wasn't sure why. Joe went on.
Anyway, kid, since we're finally on the subject, why don't I go get you your paper?
My paper? I'm signing something?
No, my friend.
Joe rubbed his thumb and fingertips together smoothly.
Your paper?
Oh, right. I suppose, yeah. Now is good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No need to thank me. It ain't my money.
Joe turned and walked toward his car. Mark watched him, twiddling his fingers nervously, filling the empty space in their conversation.
Yeah, but still, you're the one handing it to me. Besides, I can't express enough how much it means. It's very generous.
Oh, yeah?
Joe said, pulling something from the trunk of his car and weighing it in his hands. A moment later, he walks back up to Mark and plop. $400,000 falls at his feet in a blue and red lace duffel bag.
You're welcome.
The car dealer in the banana yellow jacket gawks breathlessly, the air snatched out of him by the sight of so much paper. He gurgled giddily, fell to his knees, and started wadding up the cash in his sweaty hands and armpits, as much as he could fit, till it tumbled out, and then did it again. Joe watched the whole thing, amused.
You're not taking that to Vegas, are you?
No, of course not, no.
Not Reno neither? Not even Shreveport?
I swear. I promise. I'm going to save it for all my kids.
Oh, you got kids too? How many?
0, but I'm planning on a bunch, and when I do, they're going to thank me for being born.
Mark's crazed glare twisted into an obscene, frantic grin.
It's been fun,
Joe thought. But he was starting to worry. If he didn't get things back on track, this kid's head may not be straight enough for the work.
All right, you frickin' clownfish.
Joe reached down to yank on Mark's wrist, pulling him back onto his feet and tenderly smacking his cheeks on both sides.
Congratulations. You all will do great things together, I'm sure. But remember earlier when you told me you could do calm?
Yeah.
Mark tried to steady himself.
I can do calm. Look, this is me being calm. I am calm. Yes, I am now prepared for a deeply relaxing and calming experience.
All right. I'm not rubbing you down with lavender oil. I just need you focused.
Mark quickly sobered up.
Yeah, okay, I understand. Focused enough for what? Rigging up the car?
That's exactly what.
Sure, no big deal. You got nothing to worry about. I do that in my sleep, man.
If you say so.
Joe rolled his eyes and turned back toward the Lincoln.
So, do you want me to...
Just stay right there,
Joe barked over his shoulder. Mark started feeling dejected.
Why is it so hard to believe that I can drive a tow truck? I rig cars for towing like twice a month.
Mark jammed his hands in his pockets, kicked the dirt, and felt the pressure again to fill the silence.
So, you like it out here? I love it personally. Wide open spaces. It's really beautiful today. It's cool getting to come again. It's certainly been a minute.
Is that so? You been to this spot before?
Joe was still pacing toward his car.
Oh yeah, but not for anything like this. I'm just really into all that Route 66 stuff. I can tell you about all the little naughty offshoots of the Mother Road, like this one here. First time I came here, this exact spot, I was 16. I even walked a little further, maybe a mile that way. Fell in love right away. Some people might call stuff like this tourist traps. But me? They're worth a trip all on their own. I think it's the locals that love them the most.
If you've been spending your vacations out here, you really do need that money.
Joe glanced at him and muttered to himself,
This kid. Jesus.
Mark cocked his head, trying to hear Joe's muffled voice buried inside the Lincoln.
Yeah, vacations sure are sweet. You know, I took a trip north once up by Humboldt. They got beavers out there, you know? California golden beavers. I didn't see any, though. I just heard about it later on the Discovery Network.
Joe continued to putz around in the car.
Yeah, I'm not really a TV guy.
Oh, well, maybe not the Golden Beaver Hour, but a guy like you? I bet he enjoys the classic movie channel every now and again.
Joe sticks his head out of the car a bit, like he's thinking, and then shrugs and says over his shoulder,
Okay, but that's different.
But of course, totally different, on a higher frequency.
Mark was trying not to suck up too hard.
How can you go wrong with old movies? I mean, On the Waterfront. Come on.
Now you're talking.
Joe went back to struggling with something Mark couldn't see.
Unravel, you piece of shit.
Mark was on a roll.
Double Indemnity. Ever seen that one?
Well, of course. They play it all the time.
Little Caesar? The one from the 30s?
I don't know. Maybe.
You must have seen it. Public Enemy? That's the one from the 30s too. But there's one from the 50s called The Mob. You ever heard of The Mob?
Joe pulls out of the car, shaking something messy and tangled in his hand, staring at Mark like he had a bug in his teeth. Mark blanched.
Did I say something wrong?
Joe froze Mark with a glare as he walked back toward him. He shook the clump loosely and tossed it on the bag of money. Mark looked down nervously, trying to keep one eye on Joe. The clump was a wad of blue and red wires, generally sorted by their colors, but still badly entangled in places. Mark couldn't imagine the purpose of this mess.
Hey.
Mark stared at the wires and thought about purposes.
Hey!
Mark snapped out of it with a look of mild panic.
Are you trying to say something?
Mark's eyes got even wider.
What?
Oh, don't start whatting me. I just want to know, are you trying to say something with these movies? Like, are you trying to insult me?
Oh, my goodness, I would never. Rivulets of flop sweat ran across his neck, the words sticking in his mouth like wads of wet cotton.
I'm sorry. I really didn't. I really didn't.
You frickin' pigeonholed me.
Joe squinted at Mark with eyes like a sniper.
Okay, I did?
For your information, I can still enjoy a movie even when it's not all tough guys and shakedowns. I don't need Cagney just to get through an hour, okay? I do not like being pigeonholed.
Yeah, no, I know. You're not just some dumb punk. I know it. You appreciate tender movies like what?
Yeah, I do. Like Body Heat.
Body Heat. Oh, sure. William Hurt. What a stud.
Mark was all chirps and squeaks now.
Oh, you've seen it?
Joe knew better. Mark flushed.
I can't say I have.
You've seen Public Enemy, but not Body Heat?
Joe shook his head and turned back toward the Lincoln. Mark was a shimmering mirage of flop sweat now.
I didn't mean to offend. I'm new to this whole thing. I've never spoken with a real, criminal before.
Joe stopped again, turned around and wiped at his nose to cover the condescending smile. A lizard on a hot rock eyeballed him. Joe eyeballed it back in mock disbelief.
Oh, This guy with a criminal again? Wow. This guy.
He jerked his thumb in Mark's direction.
This guy. He just called me a criminal.
The lizard was clearly disgusted. Joe looked at Mark.
You have been watching those old movies. How can you even say that, though? I mean, you're a criminal yourself.
Well, I guess technically I am now, but...
And your cousin. I mean, he's family, and you're saying you don't know how to talk to him?
Who, Liam? Well, he's not a criminal. He just owns a dealership. That's like borderline at best.
Yeah, he runs a dealership. You could say he runs the back of it.
What are you saying?
The back, as opposed to a front.
Ah, yeah, right.
Mark's eyes wandered and he trailed off, confused. Joe approached him again, smirking, and pinched the slasher's cheeks.
Hey, people gotta get it somewhere, you know.
It?
What is it?
Mark blurted it out, instantly regretting it. Luckily, Joe merely smacked his lips, smiled slightly at Mark, and started back towards the Lincoln. Mark could feel the dead air again. Too quiet.
Well, you learn something new every day. You think you know somebody, right?
His eye twitched, his grin turning into a queasy grimace.
Listen, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna sit down.
You do that.
Joe stuck his head in the car once more while Mark folded up his legs and sat gripping his gut. There were new sounds coming from across the way now. The thudding clunk of debris shifting heavily, Joe's grumbling, the squeak of the car door swinging back and forth as he searched the floorboards. But none of it entered Mark's consciousness, who only heard the sound of his own thoughts and his stomach, which was croaking like a dying frog. It hurt his stomach, and in a way he relished the pain. It centered his mind and kept it focused on a repeating mantra.
Get done here, then go quit your job. Get done here, then go quit your job. Just get done here, then you can go home and tell Liam you quit this stupid, risky job.
Mark was so enveloped in this state of zen anxiety, he stared through the odd wad of wiring and right into the rocks behind it. He didn't even notice Joe returning to his side, even when he loomed over and blocked out the sun. It wasn't until Joe tossed something else into the dirt that the slasher came back to reality. It made a dense plopping sound and kicked up a plume of dust. Mark saw it, then really looked at it. It took a second to process, but then he bolted to his feet.
Whoa, 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 whoa! What the hell is that?
Mark's voice went pitchy and panicky, his face in terror, his legs begging him to run. He pointed a trembling finger at the things in the dirt. Joe held out his palms in a baffled gesture of,
"What's what?"
There were 3 boxes wrapped in grocery bag paper like packages and tied with polypropylene twine. Only some of the packaging was unwrapped and he could see inside. Something that looked like beige clay.
Kid, that is the candy.
Ha! What, like an O. Henry bar? No, wait, it's Bit-A-Honey, isn't it? Or Abba Zaba. Don't tell me you brought Chick-A-Stick. No one likes Chick-A-Stick.
It's a little more like Pop Rocks.
Come on!
Mark fell to his knees again, this time gripping his arms around his ribcage as if he was already in a straitjacket.
I thought you people were just bugging the car. I didn't know about all this.
Bugging the car? What do I look like? The FBI?
I don't know.
Mark was just seconds away from a seizure, his saliva flying out of his mouth.
All I know is I don't want to be here anymore.
But Joe wasn't having it. Kid, listen to me. I need you to help me do this. It's a 2-man job, and we're not leaving till it's done.
Why does it have to be me? Just haul it with the tow truck back to your people. They set it up and then you drop it off at the lot. Please, please.
And what? You drive my car?
Yes.
No. You joking? Besides, the whole point of this thing, the whole point of coming out here in the first place, if you remember, or maybe you never understood, is that no one can place me around that car. I can't be seen with it. Do you understand? Don't you try and weasel out now. What we're gonna do is what we're gonna do, okay? You're helping me one way or another.
Oh, Jesus, I feel so sick. The slasher held a hand up to his mouth like he was going to vomit.
I can't believe this. I mean, this is completely unbelievable.
Joe spread his arms incredulously and stared at Mark.
I mean, seriously, how do you get this far in life without learning anything? And I need to know something else. How the hell you were never told about the fucking bomb? I mean, come on.
I said already, I don't know. I don't know. I only got off Liam what Liam got off you. I only know what Liam told me, but I just don't want to kill anyone. Please, please.
And he told you we was setting up a wire? That's it? The hell did he think you would do when you got here? Take it all in stride?
I don't know. I don't know.
Mark was becoming a spectacle, crying like a baby and screaming bloody murder. He wiped his face, smearing tears and snot everywhere, then peered up at Joe, who was struggling to hide his laughter. Mark gacked, his throat clogged with snot.
Yeah, okay. Have your fun at my expense.
Look,
What the hell?
Mark's shouting only served to amuse Joe further.
You're probably just looking forward to beating me till I cooperate.
Oh, I mean, I ain't dreading it. Look, Mark, I'm going to give you the gift of time. The time it takes me to smoke 2 cigarettes before I come back over here. When I do, I don't expect you to have your shit together. You can be crying all you want, moaning, screaming, whatever. I only need you to have your shit together enough so that while you're vocalizing, your hands are still trying to get this done.
Mark hung his head and said nothing.
Hey, I need a confirmation here.
Mark's head still hung down.
He couldn't tell me. Who? What? Couldn't? Why?
Joe, still smiling, put the first cigarette in his lips. Liam, there's no way he could get me out here, knowing how I felt.
Felt about what now?
Joe lit the cigarette. About Sal Amato, Sally Squints.
Excuse me? Come again?
Joe takes the cigarette out slowly. Still clawing his own ribs, still staring at the ground, Mark speaks with a slight tremor in his throat, as if on the brink of another breakdown. When I met him, he was so nice to me. Liam knows. I'm a loyal guy. I even return the smallest kindness. But to turn around and use that kindness against them, it's abhorrent to me, to my core being. Mark lingered on that thought, clenching his eyes to press the tears out and biting his lip. He cried a little, slowed his breathing, and began thinking again. A moment passed, all of his thoughts swirling steadily in his head. No one has said anything in a while. A moment later, and the silence began to ring out like a hammer on an anvil. Mark took a quick, raspy breath and snapped his gaze up at Joe, his eyes wide. Joe was staring back at him without any trace of warmth, without any trace of anything. And when the fuck did you meet Sally Squints Amato, Mr. Mark the Slasher? Old Joe was gone now. New Joe was very much here. His measured voice lacked all playfulness, all camaraderie. His eyes set in a deadened half-moon expression. No, don't worry. Mark's voice was now clear and sober, without a hint of the trauma from just moments ago. Joe stepped forward and shook his head. Do not tell me not to worry.
just tell me what happened?
He came onto the lot. You know, Sally. He visited the lot just like he was supposed to.
Oh, God almighty. And what did he do once he was on your lot?
He was looking for a car, of course. He said he was in the business to buy another car, and I hopped on it. That was my job. I mean, what if he didn't come back?
That wasn't for you to worry about. Now tell me, look at me. What did he do when he was on your lot?
He just looked at cars with me. That's it. I swear. I didn't do anything.
And, dare I ask, which cars did he look at?
Joe raised a finger and pointed at the Chrysler, his eyes still fixed on Mark's pale expression.
Did he look at that car? Be honest.
I mean, what does it matter if he did or not?
Did he? And do not make me ask this again. Did he look at that car?
Yes. Yeah. He looked at it. He said it looked interesting. I mean, that's what you wanted, right? Now Joe's jaw started to twitch and tremble.
Did he touch it?
What did...
Stop with the what and answer me right fucking now. Did he touch it?
Yeah, he touched it. He ran his hand along it. I mean, that's all. Joe's half-moon eyes now bulged with rage, and his lip flapped up, exposing his top row of teeth like an angry gorilla. He charged at Mark, stopping an inch away from his face. Mark stuck his hands up to his chin defensively, his back against the car.
Sally Squints ran his hands along this car, and you think to bring that shit out here?
What? Why? Joe, there's no problem here, I swear. All he did was touch the car, so?
So that could have been a signal. He was marking this car for someone watching.
No, I saw him do it, Joe. You didn't. I could tell he was just touching the car.
You don't even know what to look for.
Joe lunged forward, slamming Mark up against the Sebring and crushing his ugly tie knot in a balled fist.
I should be pistol whipping you right now, you stupid bastard.
No, please. Mark tried to wrap his small hands around Joe's. Please don't hurt me. I mean, so what? He marked the car. Let's just get rid of it.
Do you even understand what you've done? Someone probably snuck onto your lot last night and slapped a tracker on that car. His people are probably tailing us as we speak. Let me go!
Mark tried to squirm out of Joe's grasp.
Oh, yeah. Or maybe he just planted something in there, like, I don't know, cocaine, heroin, guns, and gave the cops our general location. Or maybe it is bugged, and the Amatos can hear everything we're saying. Or maybe they...
Joe's eyes went weird and wide as his gaze shifted towards the car. What? Maybe he what? Joe dropped Mark and turned on his heels, sprinting as fast as he could back towards his Lincoln.
Run! God damn it, run! Duck and cover!
Oh, shit! Mark felt his feet, trying to scurry back. Oh, shit! He stumbled forward and tripped, stabbed the ground with his fingertips, and propelled himself back up instantly, like a sprinter coming out of his blocks. Balance regained, Mark raced towards the tow truck, swung himself around the grill, and compressed himself down into a headless ball by the front wheel. He clamped his eyes and gritted his teeth, readying for the blast. A full minute passed in terrifying silence. Mark slowly opened his eyes, quickly scanned his side of the truck, and carefully unclenched his body. He poked his head out from the side of the tow truck and clocked Joe's head slowly peeking up over the hood of the Lincoln. They locked eyes, nodded, and then cautiously walked back towards each other, meeting between the two cars. Joe cleared his voice, straightened his jacket, and spoke with a regained composure. Okay, so maybe if there was a bomb in the car, it had gone off already. Joe glanced at Mark. Yeah, I know, but there is definitely something in that car. How can you know that? Mark was exhausted now. I mean, until you take a look around inside it, it's basically a Schrodinger's cat. And I don't think it's fair to punish me for something that may or may not even exist. Just go look. Rub it down for tracking devices or bugs or whatever. Oh, that is so not how this works. Joe shook his head, slowly squinching his eyebrows into something approaching an apology. You brought the car. You understand the weight of these words, You brought it. Mark froze, everything clear all at once. But I didn't know anything! He felt like he was clawing out of being buried alive. I didn't know a goddamn thing. And if I did, why would I have said something, huh? What? You think I was purposely trying to set you up? This would be the worst play of all time. I'm not saying it wasn't. Come on, there's just no way. I mean, you people looked into me, didn't you? You took a peek at my permanent record or whatever. I know you did. I bet you even hung outside my house a couple of nights with like thermal binoculars and watched me make sandwiches and jerk off and fall asleep with the TV on. I'm nobody. Or you're just really good at looking like nobody. I don't know you people. Ask anyone all over the world. You'll never find somebody in your line of work who has ever heard of me because I have zero ties to any of it. The closest thing I have to a cohort is my cousin Liam, and even him turns out I barely know. You work with my cousin though. Like you said, he runs the back, right? Why would you trust him and not me? Oh, don't you worry. After this little fiasco, we will certainly be looking into your cousin as well. Looking into... Mark's panic came rocketing back. Why? Why would you do that? It's so stupid. I can't even deal with how stupid it is. It's actually very simple. Joe calmly held up his index finger, then dragged it along the dusty air. Sal Amato touched this car. Then you brought this car. If you know any way to change that fact, then I would love to hear it. Mark was indignant and also speechless. He had nothing left. His eyes began to tear up with righteous anger and desperate pleading. Joe stared back coldly, then finally sucked in his lip and sighed. If you were in my place and I was in yours, what do you think you would do? Mark stumbled, thrown off course. Then he caught himself and accelerated into the turn. I'd let me live. Yes, that's what I would do. Yes, exactly. I would let me live, but I would make sure that my likes were never seen around here again. Boy, oh boy, like, set me up in a different state. I can make it out there on my own. All you have to do is make it look like I died. Just don't really kill me. And there it was, the fearful molten core of Mark's being. All I want is your word that you're not really going to kill me. Joe stared back, nodding his head sympathetically as if listening intently, then looked up towards the sky and smacked his lips. Yeah, we good? Joe looked down thoughtfully for a moment, came to a decision, and reached into his back pocket, pulling out his silver .45 and cocking it. Whoa, fuck, just whoa! Mark marched backwards, throwing his hands in the air. Just calm down. Joe aimed the pistol at Mark. Calm down, or I can make this a lot worse for you. Oh, God! Oh, my God! Give me the keys to the truck. Yes, of course, keys, you got it. Here, the keys, all the keys. He reached into his pocket and tossed the keys at Joe, who caught them smoothly, his eyes and gun still aimed at Mark's stricken face. Good. Now take your clothes off. What? I said take them off. Do you want to make me say it a third time? Okay, no! Mark pulled off his jacket and undid his tie and shirt. Then he unbuckled his belt, shuffling off his pants down around his ankles, and yanked them off. Your tighty-whities are still white. That's actually impressive. Don't worry, you can keep those on. Please don't do this. Put him in the car, then we can talk. Okay. Mark went to put his clothes in the Chrysler, but Joe raised a hand in the air and then gestured towards his Lincoln. No, I want them in the front seat. Okay. Mark's breath was shallow and rapid as he strode toward Joe's Lincoln and opened the passenger side door. What's taking so long? Just a second. Rather than just throwing all the clothes in, he laid them out neatly across the seat. The hell you doing that for? Joe loomed over Mark's shoulder. It's just, those are my cousin's clothes and he's really going to want them back. So, just, you're going to give those clothes back to him, right? Yeah, he'll get them back. How can I trust you? I'll put it to you like this. No one is going to disrespect the garbage can by putting that jacket in it. Your cousin'll get it back. Okay. Mark turned back towards Joe and shook his head. Please, I didn't want any of this. I just want to go away. I will just go away, I swear. You said you liked the view out here? You called it beautiful earlier. Yeah. Well, go take a look. You want me to look? I want you to get a better view out there. Mark said nothing, and neither did Joe. They merely looked at each other before Joe gestured with the gun towards the west. Mark, his mouth slack in growing disbelief, slowly shuffled away. He couldn't even lift up his wobbling legs now, merely scuffing the dirt as he went along, his feet leaving a pattern like two sidewinders. Joe counted to 10 and began to follow Mark, walking quietly. He didn't want to upset the slasher any more than he already had. They moved like this for 20, 30, finally 40 seconds. Mark hadn't taken a single breath or tried to move his locked jaw. For a short, brief moment, he had accepted his death. But as his lungs drew air, his terror returned and he couldn't walk any further. He started to heave and cry at the same time. He jammed his shoulders up by his ears and reached up, about to clamp his hands over his mouth. Wait! He couldn't open his eyes. Bang! The silver .45 rang out. Mark muffled a scream, then silence. Quickly, he mentally scanned his body. There was no pain. Nothing. He let himself slowly untense as his hands ran over his stomach and chest. He carefully cracked open one eye. Bang! Bang! Mark screamed and collapsed into a crouch, his arms covering his head. But he had caught sight of something this time. Bursts of dirt flying up into the air. He turned around. Joe was completely still, silhouetted against the desert sky. He stared at Mark, then gazed down his arm where he held the pistol out to his side and fired into the ground again. Bang! Dust exploded again. You're dead. Congratulations. What? Hey, you said make it look like you died, right? Well, I'm just doing what you asked. No need to thank me, I guess. You're not going to shoot me? Then why did you make me think I was about to die? It's for the tape, kid. What tape? Just in case that car you hauled here today, or your clothes, turn out to actually be bugged, there can't be any trace of our voices discussing your future whereabouts.
This way, whenever that tape gets heard, they'll assume you're out here under the dirt.
Well, okay. All right then. Mark unclenched his chest. Thanks, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Joe holstered his pistol in the back of his belt and walked over to the still shaking Mark.
Now, we were going to discuss your reinventing, so to speak.
You mean like my new identity?
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Mark's eyes widened. So like, do you have like someone who's going to make me a new birth certificate and set me up with a fake family in Rhode Island or something?
Nah.
Joe looked away, sucked in his lip, and then placed a hand on Mark's shoulder before explaining to him like a child.
You are going to go home and put some clothes on and make yourself a carry-on bag of medicine and essentials. You will then catch a cab to the airport and buy yourself a one-way ticket to Comrat, which is a city in Moldova. They make a nice red wine, by the way. When you get there, you will start telling people your name is Vasily, and you're going to throw your passport in the river.
And Moldova is a part of which continent?
Europe.
Europe. Oh, well, that sounds like it's progressive.
Yeah.
Joe gazed off into the distance. So, since I'm starting a whole new life, I guess I get to keep some of the money?
Yeah, no.
Joe pats Mark on the shoulder sympathetically, then takes off his jacket and puts it around Mark's shoulders. They walk back together, Joe guiding Mark slowly like a terminal patient back to bed. Mark pressed his hand against the side of his head, trying to figure out what was actually happening now. Joe watched him climb up the short ladder into the cab of the tow truck and smirked at the robotic way Mark started up the engine and began to pull away. He waved at the slasher, but couldn't tell if the guy even noticed. Joe watched the truck drive off, his hands on his hips, ruminating on the day's events, and as it moved further into the distance, Joe began to wonder if he'd missed anything. In the cab of the truck, Mark drove in a daze, so it was a miracle that he even noticed Joe in his rearview mirror, running at a full sprint just behind the truck, waving his arms wildly. What the Mark slowed down the truck. Joe slowed down as well, coming up beside the cab and leaning against the tire with his hands on his knees. Mark rolled down the window and heard the hacking wheeze of Joe's struggling lungs. You okay? Joe forced himself back up and dusted off his shirt.
Aren't you forgetting something?
What? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Mark slipped off the jacket and handed it back to Joe.
No, for fuck's sake!
Joe pointed behind the tow truck.
The Sebring, the Chrysler Sebring. You can't drive it out of here, and I can't drive it out of here. So what are you going to do?
Oh, Mark stared out at the desert, dazed. Well, I guess you just got to leave it there, huh? Joe narrowed his eyes and moved to speak, but there was nothing. There really was nothing to say. Mark stared back for a moment, then shrugged his shoulders and rolled his window back up. As Joe watched Mark drive away, a jangling bundle of metal racket kicking up dust clouds in the setting sun, all he could do was put on the jacket and shake his head at the absurdity of it all. Mark glanced back in the rearview mirror, took a deep breath for the first time all day, and allowed himself a grim smile. That was close. With a bungled mission now behind him, only one job was left ahead for Joe. He must return home and deliver the bad news to his people. Not something he had to do very often, not something he looked forward to doing now. As he settled back into the Lincoln and finally lit that second cigarette, His mind raced around one question. How was he going to play this so it sounded like something they could all one day laugh about? Maybe he'd say, "Oh, hell, it's not like we really wanted to kill him anyway." Or, "Hey, it's no big deal." Or, "I bet Sal's private jet'll break down any day now." Or, "I just want you to know I've always loved you." Despite the constant working of new ideas, Joe couldn't settle on a single strategy. Sometimes, the right words come only when the moment is upon you.
Thank you for listening to In the Now Eventually. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.
Joe watched the truck drive off, his hands on his hips, ruminating on the day's events. And as it moved further away into the distance, Joe began to wonder if he'd missed anything. In the cab of the truck, Mark drove in a daze. So it was a miracle that he even noticed Joe in his rearview mirror, running at a full sprint just behind the truck, waving his arms wildly. What the fuck? Mark slowed the truck down. Joe slowed down as well, coming up beside the cab and leaning against the tire with his hands on his knees. Mark rolled down the window and heard the hacking wheeze of Joe's struggling lungs. "You okay?" Joe forced himself back up and dusted off his shirt. "Aren't you forgetting something?" "What? Oh, sorry. Yeah." Mark slipped off the jacket and handed it back to Joe. No, for fuck's sake." Joe pointed behind the tow truck. "The Sebring, the Chrysler Sebring. You can't drive it out of here, and I can't drive it out of here, so what are you gonna do?" Mark stared out at the desert, dazed. "Well, I guess you just gotta leave it there, huh? Maybe take the keys out of the ignition and just throw them at that lizard or something." Joe narrowed his eyes and moved to speak, but there was nothing. There really was nothing to say. Mark stared back for a moment, then shrugged his shoulders and rolled his window back up. As Joe watched Mark drive away, a jangling bundle of metal racket kicking up dust clouds in the setting sun, all he could do was put on the jacket and shake his head at the absurdity of it all. Mark glanced back in the rearview mirror and took a deep breath for the first time all day. That was close. With a bungled mission now behind him, only one job was left ahead for Joe. He must return home and deliver the bad news to his people. Not something he had to do very often, not something he looked forward to doing now. Tired and hot, his smoke-damaged lungs wheezing painfully from running after that shrieky little dimwit, Joe shuffled slowly toward the now-abandoned Chrysler Sebring to get the keys. Stumbling again, he grabbed the door handle to steady himself, only to have it slip off easily into his massive fist. What a piece of crap. As the orange light from the setting sun cast its one last ray, Joe looked down at the handle in disgust, then gagged on his thick phlegm at the sight of the hole in the door, the thin red and blue wires expertly pressed into the soft gray slab. Are you fucking kidding? The concussion from the blast hit Danger's back window so hard it slammed Mark into the steering wheel, causing the empty tow truck to careen back and forth. He recovered quickly, muscling his beloved baby back onto the dirt road before slowing to a stop. He adjusted the cracked rearview mirror and looked intently for a long minute at the distant dust cloud rising from the desert floor. Yeah, that was close. But now, it's closed. Showtime was over. Mark finally relaxed into the sagging seat, smiling slightly for the first time that day and feeling like himself again. Cousin Liam had taught him well.
We talked about this, remember? You gotta be this guy 24/7, you understand? You are the slasher. No letting up, no time out. You won't get a break out there, so you can't take a break in here. Even when we're together like this, you stay in the character, and I'll do the same. The old man can't even know. He can't have his prints on this. This is our gift to him. You stay in it. Stay in it, and you got this, and we got a future with Mr. Amato.
Mark understood, and he stayed in it. Full commitment, full immersion, think in it, sleep in it, dream in it, live in it, eat in it, stay in it. The slasher had played his part and played it perfectly. But the OG was back now, and Mark let out a long, sweet sigh of relief and satisfaction. A sleek silver phone buzzed softly from the crevice in the greasy seat cushion. Mark picked it up, looked at the screen. Liam. He took a deep breath and lightly tapped the green icon to answer. Mr. Amato was going to be so proud of them.